Well, Rebecca Lowe, here we are at Cheltenham Town Football Ground before an FA Cup second round game. You are fronting ESPN's coverage tonight, and I mean, you're an old hand at this now, aren't you? But it just seems to me, a girl, a daughter of a newsreader, somebody who wanted to be an actress, who'd have thought you'd be here now doing this?
Certainly not me. And I can tell you that. If you told me 10 years ago this is what I would be doing, I wouldn't have believed you at all, because as you say, I wanted to be an actress. That was always the plan. And my dad had always obviously got that, he's got that gene in him, the presenting genes, and perhaps I picked that up from him, who knows. But yeah, it's not something I ever had planned in my life, but I think that maybe that's a good thing. Maybe my dream to being an actress, perhaps, I think I'm glad I'm not, because of the type of job it is and the type of person I am. I don't think would have worked.
Well, I bet you're glad, because it hasn't turned out too shabbily anyway, and you're kind of performing in a slightly different way. But even 10, 15 years ago, the thought of God damn it, a woman presenting football on TV. I guess we've all moved on, thank goodness.
I'm not sure everyone has, but yeah, a lot of people have, and there's a generation of perhaps the under 20s, I would say, don't think it's strange at all. Perhaps over that sort of age range, some people will always have an opinion, and they won't like it, but that's their opinion, and this is my job, and this is what I do, and hopefully, as the years go by, it'll become much more the norm.
First woman ever to present the FA Cup final in the history of British television. Never take that away from you, hey?
This is true. This is true. No, my mum tells me that every single day.
I bet you weren't nervous that day, were you?
I didn't eat. I think it was Wednesday evening was my last meal before the Saturday game. So yeah, it was a big week in my life. Yeah.
Okay, well, today it's not quite such a big game, but nevertheless, it's the FA Cup. We're off and running again, and it's a couple of hours before kick-off. And what does Rebecca Lowe do on a day like this?
Well, I just arrived about 15 minutes ago, and I had a quick chat with my producer in the broadcast trucks. So I'll be finishing this interview. I'll be going to I'll be testing my sound actually first, then I'll be going to makeup, which takes a while. Then I'll probably eat something very quickly, and then we'll have a production meeting where I've already written my script, what you can write. I mean, there's no autocue or anything, but you have to write a few things so you know roughly what you want to say. But most of it's ad-libbed really on a night like tonight. So I'll go and have the production meeting, make sure we're all completely on the same page. Then I'll meet the guests. Tonight we've got Craig Burley and Colin Addison, who was the player manager of Hereford's 1972 game against Newcastle. So I'm really looking forward to meeting him. And Clive Allen is co-commentating, so I'll chat to him and Derek Ray. And then I'm pretty much in place from, I think we're on air at 7:15, so I'll be in place from about 6 to rehearse and then do the show, and then freeze myself silly, and then jump back into my car, put on the heaters and drive home.
I think you're talking about ad-libbing. I mean, you've got to, because the very nature of sport is it's not scripted, is it? I mean, every weekend, we were just talking off camera about being at the All Black game at the weekend. Nobody could have predicted that rugby, and you can't predict today, so you can prepare as much as you like, but you still got to speak, I guess, off the cuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you said about the FA Cup final and that this isn't as big a game, and obviously I know what you mean, but this game tonight, if Hereford win, will mean the world to them, because if they get into the third round, they owe the taxman about £120,000. They desperately need to get into the third round. So for them, they win, the scenes here could be something special, and then you just got to go with it. You can't try and structure anything. Post-match, I don't really have a running order. All I know is how long I've got until I have to say goodbye and hit 0. Other than that, I don't know what's going to happen, and that's, I love that. I don't like it when it's all really regimented and structured, and I remember I've done quite a few games down the years where the unexpected happens, it gets rained off, or I did the Fabrice Moamba game when that situation happened, and actually it's a test, and it's much more of a thrill as a presenter when you have a blank piece of paper and you just got to do it.
I was going to ask you about that. That was obviously something which you weren't prepared for. The Moamba evening, obviously, football became very much a minority subject on the night, and you had to be thoroughly professional.
Yeah, I tried. I mean, it was a night. I woke up that morning excited to present an FA Cup quarter-final and was faced with that. I mean, it was a night that I'll never forget. Luckily, I had John Barnes and Kevin Keegan with me, who were just fantastic and very, very professional guys. And I think you just go into some sort of mode That's the only way I can explain it. And I was very aware. I wasn't, you're aware of everything and nothing in a weird way because you're just doing it. But I was very aware of his family watching because obviously we were the only channel who had the game. And I knew that with every second that went by, more and more people were switching over because with these days on Twitter, people would have been saying, quickly put on ESPN, they might have the first news of what's happening. And I knew that at any moment I could be hearing in my ear some bad news or some good news or some sort of news I'd have to relay, and I knew that his family would be watching and his friends. So that was my main thing. And also just to try to convey that to the average person sitting at home what it was like in that stadium, which I'll never forget. It was absolutely horrendous.
Now you've, like most women, even in today's society, experienced the wrong end of sexism in the past, particularly in what is a supposedly male testosterone-filled area that you work in. I mean, there was a time when you got taunts and chants, and I'm assuming you've been 100% accepted, not as a female presenter, but as a presenter in this game, certainly by the media and by football, and hopefully by the majority of supporters?
No, I wouldn't say so, no. I would say that probably the majority, yeah, but I mean only a couple of weeks ago where was I? At Altrincham, there was sexist chanting happening there, and that was quite an intimidating place because I was quite close to them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've done loads. I've had loads of games where I've been quite far away from the sexist chants, and you can just hear them and you just deal with them. But I was very close, and that's not particularly nice when you can see them actually saying that. I think that's, like I said it before, I think there's always going to be people who don't like a female in this environment and will always have their opinions. I can't tell you of many times that I could give you examples of sexism because a lot of it is in body language, in tone of voice, and I can't say to the person, oh, there, you were just sexist, because
they won't even know it.
They won't even know, no. And it's exactly, and there's no evidence, so I just get on with it, and it is what it is. As I said before, the generation where I believe it's totally normal and there isn't any sexism is that sort of under 20, where they've grown up with people like Claire Tomlinson, Gabby Lowe and people like that. They've grown up with them, so they don't think it's weird at all.
Yeah.
So once they get to the decision-making age, then I really believe that that whole sexism thing will go. But until we get to that stage, and unfortunately I'll be old by then, but until we get to that stage, I'm going to have to deal with it. And
But let me ask you a question on that then. Do you see yourself slightly on a mission, or is that being way too grand? Are you just trying to do a job?
Exactly. I'm absolutely not on a mission. In fact, I much prefer talking about football than talking about sexism.
Sure.
Yes, it's there. I'm not going to fight the fight because it's too big a fight to fight. I think it's life, it's culture, it's society. It will change, it will evolve by itself. I'm literally just here to do the job that I love, and it's not ideal, don't get me wrong, it's not correct. It's the sexist abuse from the stands is worse than, it is much more evident in my life than sexism itself. I would say the sort of sexual abuse that you get, sort of, as I said, before, from the stands. So no, to me it's something that's part of the job, always has been since the first day I did it 10 years ago, and it will always be, as far as there's nothing I can do about it, so just got to go on with it.
Right, one final thing, Cheltenham, fairly new team in terms of the sort of public perception, against a team that, if you're a certain age, which thankfully we're not, will always be connected to the FA Cup because of that goal. And so even in the second round, as you said, or the tax issues as well, it's a big old game. It's a classic FA Cup tie.
Yeah, it's huge, and in fact for both of these teams as well, it is a bit of a local rivalry. There's a lot of spice. There's a lot of players who play for Hereford that used to play for Cheltenham who'll be playing tonight, and they'll want to get one over on their old team. Cheltenham are doing really well in League 2 under Mark Yates. He's really transformed the team since he came from Kidderminster 3 years ago. He's really made it his own. There's only one player, I think, who he inherited. The rest of them all his own team. Hereford are struggling. They're mid-table in the Blue Square. They're not struggling to much for form, but they're struggling off the field, so that they want the money. And there's some good players on show tonight. I'm really looking forward to seeing if he's fit. Ryan Bowman for Hereford, Chris Zabrowski I know all about from his days in Torquay and Bristol Rovers. Kaid Mohammed for Cheltenham is really good. So I think there's really good quality on show tonight in a game where the most important thing is getting through to the third round, where they've got Everton. Whoever wins tonight gets Everton at home, and if they can get that on television and get over £100,000, then I mean it will save Hereford United.
Well, listen, the beauty is we don't know what's going to happen, do we? You don't know what's going to happen. You could be scripted up to a point, and then you've just got to go, yeah?
Right out the window, yeah.
All right, well, listen, have a good night.
Thank you.